Research has shown that kids who have conversations with their parents and learn about the dangers of drug and alcohol abuse are 50% less likely to use them than those who don't have those conversations. Hello and thanks for joining us. I'm Laurel Hess and this is Comcast Newsmakers. Joining me now is the director of the Huron Valley Community Coalition, Randy Root. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Your entire coalition really mission and goal revolves around preventing kids from getting involved with drugs and alcohol, correct?
That's right. We've been working at revitalizing our organization, particularly in the last year and a half or so. And during that time, I've learned a lot because I'm new to the profession, and I've discovered that prevention works, that in communities where they have active coalitions, substance use of all kinds goes down dramatically.
What is the process of prevention? Is it bringing in speakers to talk to kids? Is it getting them after school activities? Is it simply education in a classroom? What seems to be the thing that works the best?
Actually, it's a multifaceted approach, all those things you talked about. Education is one thing, but having kids talked to all the time by so-called professionals and that sort of thing, they don't respond real well to that all the time. So we've developed youth groups in our school district where they can direct their own programming. So we give them the information they need, and they kind of select which activities they'd like to pursue to help themselves and other students avoid substance use.
Is this geared at a certain age group? Is this only in the middle schools? Is there programming at the high school or elementary level?
We're most active right now in the high schools, but we're planning to get more active in the middle schools and then eventually get the upper elementary students.
So what's the biggest message? Is it, don't drink, don't do drugs, or is it more respect yourself so you don't become somebody who is tempted to do this type of thing?
It's a good question, because the don't do drugs thing, just say no kind of attitude doesn't really appeal to the kids. They need to, I feel, be touched more in the heart, thinking about who's going to be affected, themselves, their families, their peers. And so if we can talk to them about the consequences in a way that is partially self-discovery, where they can look into it themselves, they'll feel it more and they'll share the message amongst themselves. Of course, they need the educational component of that too.
It really is a don't give in to peer pressure type thing, because I don't think any middle schooler wakes up someday and says, hey, I really want to have a joint, right? So they don't get introduced to that by themselves. It's a peer pressure thing. Whatever peer group they're in, somebody's introducing that to them.
Correct. That's a big part of it. It's hard. And another thing you have to do is one thing to try to walk away from that kind of a situation, but kids don't want to lose their friends. So some of the stuff we do is to give them the skills to walk their way back away from those situations and still remain one of the cool kids, so to say.
And so obviously peers have a certain influence on kids, a huge influence. Parents can have some, not huge, but what should parents know about drug use, alcohol abuse? How should they be talking to their kids, and when? They
need to talk now. In fact, there's an app that they can get for their phone that's called Talk Sooner. And it helps with conversation starters. It's harder for parents than some folks think to get that conversation going. They need to avail themselves of about all the information they can get about drug use and how to communicate with kids. We've been putting on a program a couple of times along with St. Joseph Mercy Hospital called Drugs 101, What Parents Need to Know. And it's a wonderful 2-hour program that covers everything from slang terms that kids will use for drugs, where they're hiding them, how they're ingesting them. I think people would be really surprised if they found out just the many different ways that kids have figured out how to ingest marijuana, which, by the way, is a lot bigger problem than most people think. For youth particularly, their developing brain does not do well with any substance, but marijuana has a big impact.
There's so many new things. We talk about what we knew when we were in high school, and now we talk about marijuana. I hear my kids in high school talk about edibles and vaping, and it's all beyond me. So get educated as a parent so that you can talk to your kids. Thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
For more information on today's topic, you can visit hvcoalition.org. You can check out more newsmakers at comcastnewsmakers.com. Today's Comcast Newsmaker was Randy Root, the director of the Huron Valley Community Coalition.